sorry.
Together
we can make a difference. BBC Radio Sorry.
I literally get blown away by the number of people who make a difference, and my next guest really is making a difference under the most incredible circumstances. In December last year, 2021, Richard Tyler, a West End actor from Surbiton, was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer. It's called Mantle cell lymphoma, and without treatment was given just a few months to live. The type of cancer makes Richard's condition very hard to treat. However, a new drug, which is currently in advanced trials, was offered as part of his treatment, but sadly not covered from his health insurance company because it wasn't on the licensed list. Well, Richard and his family were forced to fund the cost of his treatment personally, and so set up a GoFundMe campaign, and within 1 week had exceeded their £40,000 target. Job done? Not where Richard is concerned. Once Richard had exceeded the fundraising target, he decided to help others who weren't in such a fortunate position and support them and their families in the way that he has been supported. So this fundraising has now shifted a gear into something much bigger than just funding Richard's own treatment. I'm delighted to say that Richard joins me on the programme. First of all, welcome, and how are you feeling?
Oh, hey, Sylvie. It's actually really moving just to listen to the description of the last, it's 7 weeks really, and I kind of live in this time warp of feels like I've lived with cancer forever, and yet it also feels like it's all happened in a heartbeat. So thank you for having me on here. It's really kind of you, and that question of how are you is an interesting one, isn't it? I'm sure for much of my life I'd have gone, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm all cool, and I'm just very aware of, actually I'm not. And it often surprises people when I go, I'm not good today. I feel pretty rough. So I spent yesterday in hospital. And I think a little birdie online tells me, Sylvie, that you'll know a lot about blood as a phlebotomist. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, I do. Yeah.
My platelets had dropped right off to a dangerously low level on Friday, so I need to have a platelet transfusion yesterday. But as that happens, my red blood cell count and my white blood cell count are dropping really low. So I need to go back tomorrow, do some more bloods, and maybe have a full transfusion. So I feel pretty tired, and I'm only a week down from my third cycle of chemo, and that obviously is pretty barbaric. It's pretty brutal on your body. I had no idea.
Richard,
we can't imagine, can we, until we experience something such.
No, and as you say, with my clinical hat on, you know, I come into contact with so many people in a similar situation to yours, and it really does turn your world upside down. Richard, you are only 49 years old. You know, you don't expect, none of us expect, do we? I think we all just hope it's never going to happen to me, whatever it is, you know, if it's something bad. When it does, it really does change your life. Tell us a little bit more about this mantle cell lymphoma.
Well, mantle cell is, there's only a few hundred people every year that are diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma. The problem with mantle cell, of course, with the problems with any cancer is a long list, but the specific problem with mantle cell is that it's notoriously hard to stop coming back. So you can get yourself into remission, but mantle cell feels like it lurks behind you for your lifetime, kind of ready to tap you on the shoulder again. And so I think that was one of the reasons my consultant offered us the drug, offered us a course of treatment, which would have been a course of chemo, and at the end of this, I need to have a full blood transfusion. So the best chance of my survival really is to have an entire bone marrow transplant, which will hopefully come in a few months when I get into remission. But the drug that we were offered was a as a starter was a great option, and my consultant was eager that I went with a drug called obinutuzumab, which is still at the end of its clinical and has shown in its clinical trial so far that the chances of staying in remission are increased by 15% because the change is actually a DNA level that the impact this particular drug has. And we're kind of faced with that choice of going, do we somehow find £40,000 or do we not? And we don't have £40,000 sitting in the bank like many people. And it was a decision we had to make about how do we find £40,000 and how do you do that in a heartbeat? We needed to decide fast.
I mentioned in my introduction that you exceeded your £40,000 target within a week. What's the reaction been from you and your wife Kelly, your family, your close friends? Everyone must have been blown away by that. That's an incredible amount of money in anybody's definition, but within a week, that's a lot of love for you.
Yeah, it's insane, really, isn't it? I mean, we didn't think we'd get anything close to 40,000. Our ideal was if we get something that makes a contribution to it and just takes a little bit of the burden off, that would be amazing. But within 6 days, we'd hit this 40,000 target, and my beautiful 16-year-old daughter Mia would be kind of checking every half an hour to go, it's gone up another £10, it's gone up another £100. And hitting that amount 6 days on, there were a couple of things, Sylvie. One was this massive outpouring of love and generosity with money from people that I know, from some of my clients that I work with and have worked with, but actually an enormous amount of money given by people who didn't really know me at all, but were very moved by the situation that we found ourselves in. So whilst the financial aspect was just blew our world, actually what really moved us more was just this outpouring of generosity, love, kindness, compassion, absolute humanity at its optimum. People offering to people I don't know, going, do you need a bone marrow donor? Can I be tested? Can I set up a monthly amount? I'm going to be paid in a few weeks. Can I set something up? Can we come and cook you meals? It was just that bit was just moving beyond belief. I can't describe.
I can only imagine. I can hear it in your voice, of course. When we're coming up to the news, and I have so much more to ask you. So we are going to, in a moment, just take a quick break for the news, and then are you okay to hang on there, Richard? And I because I want to talk to you about the Willow Tree Foundation, and also your West End acting career and what we can do here to help raise money for you ongoing, but also for the other people that you want to be able to help as well, and also to talk a little bit more about this drug and the effects of the treatment on you. So if you're okay, I'll pop you back to producer Jack for just a few moments, and then we'll go to the news, and we'll be right back with you. So thank you so much, and back with you very, very shortly, Richard. Thank you.
You're so kind. See you in a minute.
So I'm in conversation then with Richard Tyler, just 49 years old, from Surbiton in Surrey. Let me just remind you, Richard, and I will get him to tell us all about it, a West End actor from Surbiton. He was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer. We've talked about it, mantle cell lymphoma. And without the treatment that he needed, he was just given months to live. I mean, imagine 49 years old, 16-year-old daughter, beautiful wife. You get the picture. But just incredible to have raised and exceeded their £40,000 target within 1 week. And in doing so, Richard decided that despite the treatment he's going through and all of those issues with that treatment. He wants to help other people who this may benefit as well. So we will find out a little bit more after the 5 o'clock news. Because I'm mid-conversation with the incredible Richard Tyler, a West End actor from Surbiton. Richard was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma in December of last year. It's a treatment, it's a new treatment. Without it, Richard was just given a few months to live. There was no funding from his insurance company. Richard and his family set up a GoFundMe campaign and within 1 week exceeded their £40,000 target. But that's not enough for Richard because he wants to help others who may need similar treatments. Richard, thank you for hanging on there. And it's so wonderful to talk to you, and you know, I know we talked early on there about, you know, you've just had a blood transfusion, you're going to have more bone marrow sort of, you know, treatment replacement, people offering even to see if they're a match for you. It's incredible that the people just out of nowhere, this whole world seems to have revolved around negativity for such a long time, and particularly, obviously, for the last couple of years. It's so heartwarming, isn't it, to realise that actually the majority of this world is good.
Yeah, you're right. It is, and the last couple of years has been kind of has been a test, hasn't it, for all of us in different ways, and we've some have managed it really well, and it's been actually a very successful 2 years for them because of their lifestyle or their business. For others, it's just been just a torrid 2 years. And I actually think in the last couple of years, I've seen, certainly at the start of COVID, we saw huge amounts of compassion and almost people looking up for others and looking out for them, and certainly communities starting to come together and bond and build connections, and people not just thinking about others, but also a real kind of really heart-centered about others. And that's what in the last 6 weeks, certainly myself and Kelly and Mia have been on the receiving end of. But it's almost overwhelming because it just comes like a tsunami of love and kindness.
I can only even begin to imagine. We've talked about this new drug, abilituzumab. It's in its sort of advanced trial stage. How many other people do you know who have been on a trial with this?
No, I don't know, Sylvie. This is it's got through its first stage, so it isn't available on the NHS yet, but it is through its first stage, and there's a hope that within the next year it will be available. It's a few hundred people, we're talking, rather than thousands, that have had an experience of it, and it's just starting to be trialled across America. So I feel incredibly fortunate to have a consultant that knows about it, that understands its availability, and also understands the efficacy of it. So I guess we're just living in hope that it will play the part that we so desperately want it to play in my recovery, and if it's really successful, the recovery for others, especially with mantle cell. It's horror stories I read about people getting into remission, and then 7, 8, 9 months later, they're back again, and they're having to go through, and them and their families are having to go back through this just extraordinary roller coaster that cancer is.
Nightmare. Absolutely. There's no other way to describe it. And you've just mentioned there about your desire to help others. You mentioned earlier on, you know, you don't just have £40,000 lying in the bank. Most of us don't. And you've raised that money. You've exceeded that money. You want to help others. So tell us about the Willow Tree Foundation. Yeah,
well, the Willow Tree came about by accident, really, on a Saturday night. We hit we knew we would get to our 40,000. Actually, we got to kind of 36, 37 on the Saturday, and we're like, God, what are we going to do when we get to 40? I mean, that covers my treatment cycles, and then what? And we can stop, and we can say thank you very much, and we can, you know, kind of get on with managing this adventure. And what had struck me in that week was not, as I've already said, not just the outpouring of money, which was one thing, but actually was this outpouring of love and support and kindness and hope and compassion being channeled towards us. It almost felt like there was too much for us. And I just had this awareness in that week of, and it's a really weird word to use on a cancer journey, and lots of people have kind of rolled their eyes and frowned when I've said, I feel very fortunate that we are navigating it this way. I feel very blessed that we're navigating it in this way with so much support and kind of real holding around us, that I don't believe that's, for most people, the norm. My belief is that the majority of families in some way managing cancer are, my wife's taking an additional job, which she starts next week to kind of just make this journey a little smoother for us. But I know there will be families who are, having to jump on a tube, travel across London, have their chemo, come back, look after their kids. Their partner will have to go and get an additional job in the evenings just to survive. Cancer research, Macmillan research, tells us that it costs families on average an extra kind of £600 a month just in additional costs to manage their cancer journey. And we sat there on the Saturday and said, I just can't sit by knowing that there are families where this journey for them will be horrendous, will be absolutely horrendous. So we kind of just mulled over, well, how do we do something? How do we offer other families what we're being offered? So part of that is, how can we financially at least just lift some of the burden from them? How can we help them for even just 4, 5, 6 months just to pay their mortgage or to pay their bills so that they can just breathe a little bit? That's what we needed on December the 7th, to go, geez, we both run our own small businesses. We work for ourselves. I can't work. How do we just manage the basics? So we thought, okay, so we can help take some of the burden off by supporting them financially, but how can we also support them in a way that is channeling some of that? The way I've described it is wanting to be fellow travelers with them. So for the families that travel this alone and travel this in a very isolated way, how can we travel alongside them and stand shoulder to shoulder with them, which is, giving them some financial support, but also real practical support. So the website we set up, we put, some of the resources and things that we've learned about in the last 6 or 7 weeks, how to keep your PICC line covered, how to have a shower when you've got your PICC line on, the kit you need to take with you when you go for your chemo. So we put together a ton of resources so we can really stand practically shoulder to shoulder with families, and at the same time stand heart to heart with them, which is, for me, is the real game-changing bit, which is, how do we almost metaphorically crouch down next to them and travel this journey with them, and so that they don't actually have to do it alone. Now, we don't fully know what that will look like and how we can best do that, but we knew that night that that was what we needed to do. We decided it needed to be a foundation. We wanted to do it, just build a really robust, the word is in there, foundation. Wanted to build something that has very strong roots to be able to support people, specifically with blood cancers in this country, through their cancer journey. So what our offer is, that what we want to do is to be able to offer £10,000 per family. So we hit our 50,000 mark about a week later. We're close to 60, so we're kind of ready for our first 2 families where we'll give a sum of £10,000 each, but then actually walk this journey alongside them in whatever way that means, and in some ways channeling some of the love and kindness and compassion that has come our way to them. It feels like we've got so much. Why wouldn't we share it? So the Willow tree was born, really, and Willow tree just felt like my wife's favourite tree. So I go, well, that's a good enough reason for anything. But actually, the willow tree, if you think about it in terms of all trees, it is the tree that is, despite its conditions, most able to flex, bend, adapt, stoop. And actually, on this cancer journey, that one of the things I've learned is that I can't change the context I'm in. I personally cannot get rid of the cancer, the cells that should not be in my body that are that shouldn't be in my body at all. I can't change that. I can't change the conditions, but I can change how I move with the conditions. And actually, we can do the same to support other families. We can't change the conditions, but actually, we can help them just walk this path in a better way, just a little bit more effortless. So I've really rambled on then, but I hope I've just given you a sense, Sylvie, of what we wanted to birth, if you like, and that's what we birthed.
You gave me plenty of chance to well up. I'm good at that, Richard. The Willow Tree Foundation, therefore, has been born. Yeah. You are now in a position to help 2 families. Have you found those families at this stage?
No, we have one. We have one who have put themselves forward for it. We've had various bits of kind of news and press in the last week and this coming week, and part of that will be saying, we really want to find our family, a family in this country who have some kind of blood cancer, any kind of blood cancer, not specifically mantle cell, who just really fit in that same bracket that we do, which is, and we were the same during COVID. We weren't eligible for any benefits, for any support, because we just earn enough money to be able to cover our bills, but nothing more. Mm-hmm. And we want to find a family who are in a similar place. And so the hunt is on, really. We have on our website and our Facebook page, we've got opportunities for people to put themselves forward. The foundation is in really early days, so we're just starting to pull our trustees together. Legally, it's quite a long process, but really we want our trustees to be a part of agreeing that family. My heart will open and go, I want to give £10,000 to everyone, but that will be a massive problem for us. So having trustees on board is important. So no, we're looking for our families to step forward, really, and start asking for the help and support that they need.
So what about the help and support that you need with the Willow Tree Foundation? You need trustees, you need that website to be managed and looked after. You and Kelly and Mia are doing all of this when you must be so physically and emotionally exhausted. I absolutely, my hat goes off to, I literally don't know how you've done it, but you have, and it's amazing, but it needs sustaining. So anyone listening who thinks, I might not have £10,000 or a little bit to go towards it or whatever, but actually I'm amazing at managing websites, or I know how trustees should work for foundations, or what do you need?
And that's a brilliant question, and we've been asked that so much, or I've been asked it so much in the last 6 weeks, and in some ways, we're still so at the beginning of this journey. You kind of don't know what you don't know. But we certainly obviously want the more money we get, the more we can support other families. And I've had people apologising for only being able to give, £10. I'm like, wow, it's just there's never an apology needed. Just offer whatever you can, whether that's money, whether that's some energy, whether that's some love, whether that's some time. Certainly, we need people to help us find our family. So I'm pretty sure there'll be some people listening to your program, Sylvie, who will know of a family who perhaps have just had a diagnosis and are still in that shock phase, a blood cancer diagnosis, and will go, blimey, this would be just absolutely ideal for them, just to help them give this kind of buffer of space to breathe, and then some kind of fellowship, and I guess we have our trustees earmarked. So I think we haven't gone to all of them yet, but we do have them. But I think certainly people who are also perhaps experienced in setting up foundations or setting up charities, to step forward. And Kelly and I are very conscious at the moment that both of us could easily get immersed. Kelly is a trustee for 2 other charities in her life. We could very easily get seduced into just attempting to run this full time. And at the moment, we're trying to manage the pendulum swing, really, Sylvie, of how do we best support the foundation and help it grow, and how do we allow the pendulum to come back to the other side. And I must manage self-care, because for 49 years, I haven't done it brilliantly, and this is I'm needing to learn that lesson. So really, the support can come in all forms, and there will be people listening who'll go, actually, I know what you need because I've seen this, I've been there, I've done it. I've got some great resources on my cancer journey. Great, please share them with us. Please tell us. And the more then we can build up just a resource hub for people will be amazing.
You're looking to, share that emotional. Producer Jack's just brought me a tissue. And excuse me a second. Sorry. You're sharing your emotional journey. You're looking to support people financially through this foundation, but you do need to look after you. And how are Kelly and Mia coping with all of this as well?
Well, they are the centre of my universe. I don't know how I'd manage this without Kelly. She's my 50%. She's my beloved. I heard her tell a few people in the last couple of days, I've got broad shoulders, and I said, yes, you do. And just because you have broad shoulders doesn't mean you need to fill them up. So you need to leave some space and some room. So we're kind of in this dual journey where I'm also with her going, you must also look after yourself. Whilst she does an amazing job of looking after me, that she must also look after herself. And again, our network of people, we're just very fortunate that we have people who are kind of in our corner, really, and are also holding her and also keeping an eye on her. Mia is in her first year of A-levels. She's nearly 17. She has an amazing resilience, probably the hardest conversation of my life, to sit down with her and tell her that I had stage 4 cancer, and I will never forget that moment. But she's amazing, and just I feel like she's grown up and morphed into this just a different sense and a different perspective. Her sixth form have been incredible at just wrapping tightly around her. She's got some really smart friends. So I think we're attempting just to live very consciously, Sylvie, in each day, spotting where stuff goes out of balance. My own time, my own well-being, Kelly's, Mia's, the dog. Oh goodness, I can't forget Royston, the dog, his own well-being. So we're kind of, we're trying to just each day just spot and make tiny adaptations where we can.
Are you looking forward sooner rather than later to getting back to what you did, what you were amazing at, and what you were so passionate at, a West End actor?
Well, bless you. My life as a West End actor was, that isn't fully my world now. So I spent about 10 years. I played lead in Phantom in London. I played leads in Les Mis in London. I sang in concert halls around the globe. We did some really cool stuff in 10 years, and actually it had a massive impact on me emotionally, psychologically. I left the business because I burnt out, and in many ways I had a breakdown because I guess I'm like a willow tree. I couldn't bend with the context of the theatre and the arts, and I left and I studied behavioural psychology, and I've studied I trained as a therapist and as a coach. So now I work with individuals, and I work with organisations on kind of cultural and systems change and dysfunctional leadership teams. So my absolute desire, I so desperately miss my client work and my therapeutic clients that I'd see weekly. I can't see them at the moment, but I am desperate to get back to that. I'm desperate to get back to being in theatres. As you know, with my blood count so low, I'm at high risk of infection. So I've waved Mia and Kelly off to some theatre trips in the last couple of months that we had booked, and I can't wait to get back inside a theatre and back with seeing my friends, and so kind of back immersed in that world, but almost on the other side of it rather than on the performing side.
And we can't wait to see you fit, well, happy,
Oh, bless
and
you.
in complete remission. What is that website for the Willow Tree?
The website is thewillowtreefoundation.com, and everything's on there, all the buttons to the GoFundMe page. You can contact us from there. You can put yourself forward as a family. The resources are there. Hopefully it's a really great hub, and actually for people going to it that want different things, if it doesn't offer what you need it to offer, then come and tell us. It's like there's so much we don't know. We're really kind of tinkering around with this and trying to get it right for our fellow travellers. So
I want to keep in touch with you and with Kelly. I'm going to pop you back to producer Jack, and if it's okay with you, Richard, and if you are feeling well enough, we will have you back on the programme, say sort of 6 weeks or something like that, to see how the fundraising is going, most importantly to see how your treatment is going, and to see whether there's anything else that we can do to help you on this journey that you're on. Thank you so much for taking the
so
time
kind.
out. My pleasure. And this next
Thank you,
tune
Sylvie.
is for you and for Kelly and for Mia as well. It's Ella Henderson, and this is Brave.